So I cannot wait because there's going to be some shenanigans afoot here at our as I get to have a conversation with somebody that's one of my, I always say this, everybody's my favorite people. But if they had a picture, if you Googled what an HR troublemaker looked like, you're going to have a picture of Jill Kopanis that's going to show up out there in full, like in stars. And that will be taken from a cruise ship in the middle of the Caribbean or somewhere warm. But we are so excited to have you on HRUnite Convos for Connections today, Jill. How is your HR day going?
I'm having a great day. You know, we have ups and downs, but I'm talking to you. Of course, I'm having a great day.
And I am here with my friend, my birthday
I'm
gift.
here with my Grinchy guy because sometimes we can still have fun in HR.
That's right. We, if we're people focused, we are always having fun peopling.
Or at least finding a way to have fun peopling.
We try. We try.
Yeah.
So, Jill, everybody that comes on this project, this video project we're doing, we ask them two questions. So everybody gets asked the same two questions. And the first is, and especially yours, this is going to be a lot of fun for those that don't know you. And I have known you for over, oh my gosh, 2014. It's 11 years now. So for those that don't know your HR story, can you share that HR story and what led you to be a steward of people?
So my story is not a straight line at all to HR. And in fact, so I started out in college, I wanted to be a fashion buyer. So I went down that path. And in the middle of college, one of my college roommates was in the same major and switched over to this thing, excuse me, this thing called personnel management. And I remember thinking, I'd never say to her because it would be rude, but I remember thinking, oh, what a boring career. I would never go into personnel management. Fast forward, I'm eating my own words. But what happened is I started out in retail buying, and it's not as glamorous as it looks. You know, it's like, oh yeah, you get to go to market, but that's a tenth of the job. You're in some back office doing markdowns and all of this dirty work. And the only time I loved it was at lunch. You were required to be on the floor with the customers, with the other salespeople. And I came to life. It's like, oh my gosh, this is my thing. I want to work with people. So I transitioned to retail management and was managing a chain of stores when they kind of promoted me into this role where it's like, hey, we're going to open a bunch more stores. We need you on the team to interview everybody and train everybody as we open these stores. That sounded fun. That's what I like to do anyway. So jumped on that team and decided I never wanted to look back. This thing that I said in college, HR management, personnel management, that sounded so boring, suddenly realized I loved HR and jumped in both feet fast running as soon as the opportunity came. So my lesson learned was never, ever say never. And you talk about me being a troublemaker, and I'm proud of being a troublemaker because those who have not heard before, a troublemaker is one who challenges status quo to make a difference. And so I always say to everybody, never say never, challenge status quo all the time, ask the question, what if, and get out of your own way to make a difference. So yeah, from retail buyer to VP of HR, definitely full circle, but loving almost every minute of it.
Oh, it's I love the fact that you shared that in your role as a buyer that they had you go out on the floor and you got to talk to the people that are the heart of the company. So the people that are buying those products and the people that are selling those products, and you got to connect the two, which was a great kick, whisper, or nudge that led you to I'm going to say we're vintage. The word personnel always makes me cringe, but the human side of the operation in HR. So thank you to that, whatever that company was that said you had to get out of your office and go out on the floor, because I'm glad they opened that door for you to come out over to the dark side.
And the best side though, but it is true though, it's like, and I tell anybody who's going through whatever decisions in their career, it's like, just stop and listen. You can change paths. You don't have to, especially, and when you know your son's going through college right now, the chance of half the students ending up in their major 15 years down the road is about 50-50. I mean, like we learn, we grow, and we discover, oh, I thought I liked this career, but I only like this segment of this career. So luckily for me, I discovered early on, I enjoy being involved with people, whatever realm that is.
And thank you for sharing that story. And you are a troublemaker in the best way, by the way. So that is a moniker that you've embraced for the right reasons. And thank you for sharing what a true troublemaker is. And for those that have had the pleasure and the opportunity to hear you speak, and when you have taken the stage at HRUnite, I will tell you that we love the fact that you bring real stories, including your own personal stories and I'm going to say flops and all of the bumps along the way that have made you be a better steward of people in the process. So if you ever have the opportunity of hearing Jill speak, if you're in the Northern Ohio area or on a cruise ship somewhere on the HR conference cruise, let me just tell you, you are in for a treat for all of the reasons she just shared that make her such a great steward of people. So next question, if there was one moment, well, there's many, I'm going to say in our lives, but if there's one moment that shaped your HR career or had the most impact or influence, what was that?
You're going to make me nail it down to one moment.
Well, just one.
I'm going to say I had two defining moments, and they were my first job and my last job, which is my current job for 26 years. But my first job in HR a bazillion years ago, I was in a regional office and my boss was out of corporate. And she flew in to do my first annual performance review. And so she walks in the door and sits down in my office, and we start having this conversation, and we're talking about how things are going and what's going on here. And we're a good 45 minutes in, and I'm thinking, at what point is she going to start my review? I'm enjoying the conversation with my boss, but at what point are we going to start this review? And it wasn't until that conversation ended, I realized I had had my performance review. And that was many years ago. So that boss was light years ahead of where we're trying to direct leadership now. It's not about pulling out a piece of paper and going through all the words that are written down on that performance review and reiterating them to your employees. It's about humanizing the process, whether that humanization is a review or a discussion about an issue. It's that moment taught me that if I'm going to stay in HR, it's all about, we've got to humanize whatever we're going through. It's not about policies over people. It's not about structures over people. It's not about standardization over people, which when we were at HRUnite, we talked about, my session was on servant leadership. And it's like, that was years and years and years ago, yet this is somebody who walked servant leadership from the very beginning of my career. And then I went on to several careers, several companies where it was profit over people and it was procedures over humanizing. And so that taught me what I didn't want. And it led me to Dynamic Dies, which I'm blessed. Our owner, our president, our founder, he brought this company up on people first leadership. So I've had the privilege of 26 years of living the proof of servant leadership from throughout our leadership team from top to bottom. And I can truly, truly say if anybody ever questions servant leadership, it really, if you put your people before profits, your profits will show up faster and you'll be more successful than if you try and squeeze the profits out of your employees. And if I can say one thing, when I talked about when I was with the other companies that put profit over people, anybody who's listening, and this is kind of going back to being a troublemaker, anybody who's listening, look at what you do and the policies and the procedures and go, are they for the company or are they for the employee? Or are you doing it just because that's the way we've always done it? And my example of that is at one time I worked for a large national company. Corporate office had put together this service award program. Like we all know a service award program, right? And for every 5 years, it was a designated item. Well, those items worked great for somebody sitting in an office at corporate, but they were useless to 90% of their employees who are on the manufacturing floor. And when I called up corporate to say, this isn't working, they're like, well, that's what we do. We'll keep sending them to you every quarter. We'll keep cross-charging your budget. If you want to do something else for your employees, you have to go find your own budget. And I was like, I'm speaking to HR at corporate. And they're like, that's what we do. You go worry about your employees if you want to. So there's been so many moments that have shaped my career. And that's why I share every piece of them, because there's always a lesson. And hopefully somebody listening in today says, do I just assume my policies because we've always been that way and start my challenge, be a troublemaker and look at your policies and make a difference for your employees.
All of that is so meaningful. And I think you just highlighted the fact that sometimes in HR, we are disconnected from the people we serve. And our perception of reality and the reality of what the employee experiences are two different things. And if that disconnect cannot be mended, then what are we doing?
Yeah, we're in the wrong jobs. We ourselves are in the wrong jobs if we can't do that for our employees. I think you'd agree too. It's like, do the right thing or get out.
That's right. We're going to pull your HR card, let me tell you. So the whole philosophy behind our conversations is allowing individuals out in our HR community to connect with amazing HR professionals like you, Jill. So is there somebody out there you want to give a shout out to that we all should connect with? Like you need to know.
Oh, wow. That's like singling somebody out when you should put out there 100 different people. But one does come to mind because that one person led me to so many connections. And you mentioned it earlier, the HR conference cruise. So my shout out would be to Mike Maduro through Aspect Marketing, who does put on the HR conference cruises, because I've been doing it since 2017. And I would say, while I have great connections in Northwest Ohio, 70% of my national connections are from having been on those conference cruises over the years, not only the speakers, but all the participants. And I feel like whenever I have a problem, because we lived on a cruise ship for a week, we know each other. I feel like I can always email or pick up a phone, or we're all connected through social media now. And it's all because Mike, he was also a troublemaker. He challenged status quo. He took an HR conference and put it on a cruise ship and made it happen when everyone said it'll never work. So yeah, my shout out is, if you know Mike Maduro and you get on one of those conferences, you will connect with people all over the US.
And Mike is just a good guy to know. So
He's
outside of the
awesome.
work he does in supporting the HR community, he is just a genuinely nice guy. So if you are not, I mean, even if you're not in HR watching this, if you just want a good person to know, Mike is very active on LinkedIn, and there's going to be a way for you to connect with him by taking advantage of the QR code at the end of our conversation, not just to connect with Jill, but to connect with Mike. And I think I will be seeing Mike here in a few weeks. This is fall of 25. So usually I see him in October at a conference, an HR conference near me. There's always an HR conference somewhere, but it's always good. Just a friendly face and a person that is a fond connector of people. So I'll celebrate that shout out right back for Mike, as well as Jill knows I'm a big fan. And I will tell you, every time we have the pleasure of getting together, first of all, you are somebody HR helping HR that I can call. And before we hopped on recording, we were chatting about an HR issue. That's what we do. And that's what makes our network better, to get different perspectives. So thank you for always being part of my HR circle. But the last piece I want to just mention is you have, throughout the course of your legendary, I'm going to use the word legendary HR career, you have always been of service to others in the community. So if somebody needed insight, a door opening, helping to build, the HR community, especially in Northwest Ohio, through your local SHRM network, or being a teacher, a listener, or just a cheerleader, you have always been that person, not just for me, but for so many people. And so I want to just say thank you. So when you talk about servant leadership, she doesn't just talk about it because she works for a company that embodies that. You embody that yourself. And so thank you for being you. And thank you for all you do for our HR community. And the other piece is, for those that don't know, like, Jill loves to travel. Like, if she could just travel and be a travel blogger and just go everywhere, specifically if it is on a boat, in water, near water, or with a captain that has a boat that maybe be, in a water somewhere else. So again,
I'll take a rowboat at this point.
kayak, an inflatable dinghy, whatever it may be. Maybe she wants to go, doing scull on the Maumee River. We might see her there. UT just started a scull team. That's where the whole bunch of people, the rowers, who knows? You might see Jill out there. And if she is, she'll be talking HR to everybody around, and they will be listening and having fun in the process. So.
And you can make great connections that way, because I have sat at a bar on the cruise ship, on the HR conference cruise, and met people in HR who knew nothing of, that's why we were on the cruise. They were just on vacation. So there's an HR person everywhere, and we're fun.
That's right. We are HR, our people too, and we love HR people. So Jill, thank you so much for being part of our conversation. We cannot wait to have further conversations just like this one at a time and place soon.
Thank you.